Oh.
Yeah, Danny Tamborelli.
This is all that. This is all that.
I don't know what he actually says.
This is the
there.
All That podcast.
This is the dude. If I could find a torrent of all the episodes of All That, I'd throw that right up on the Plex, and we could podcast about that.
I don't want to see shit post Keenan and Kel. Keenan and Kel made that show. Kel especially.
I agree.
Keenan and Kel was so good.
Keenan and Kel was amazing. Best part of All That. Best spin-off of All That, if there is any others.
I don't remember them on all that well. I mostly remember their spin-off show.
Oh, here it goes.
Oh, yeah. Wait, Drake and Josh wasn't in
that's
All
where
That
Good
spin-off,
Burger
was
came
it?
from. Was
Yeah.
All That?
It was?
Oh, Good
Oh, no,
Burger?
Amanda Show.
Oh, shit.
Oh, Amanda Show
I
was
remember.
awesome.
I just watched the movie Good Burger again recently.
That was not good.
Yeah, that was kind of...
My favorite goof from Keenan and Kel
Not recently.
is still where... it's still when he's like, you scored a 96 on me.
Oh yeah! Cage fight. Here goes Cage.
All right. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cage Fight podcast, where we will be discussing The Runner and Trapped in Paradise.
Right after we'd talk about Keenan and Kel. Real quick.
we got to go back to that. We were interrupted.
But also we're holding open auditions to replace Dave.
Oh yeah, he doesn't like he disagrees that Baja Blast is the best Mountain Dew. So we are looking for a new engineer. If you're listening to this, just text me. We're off to a great start.
All right. That dude from Counting Crows is in the studio today, and he keeps giving a little yeah.
Adam Dervitz, or Duritz? Dervitz?
It's Duritz.
Duritz.
And he stubbed his toe.
He stubbed his toe. He's behind Nick right now. Fucking the cast of Friends.
He's doing that dance from the beginning of the Mr. Jones video.
I know music.
I mean, I know you're a big Counting Crows fan because I have been to every Shrek Midnight release with you.
Yeah, but
so
That is true.
Hey, when I get that feeling, I need Shrexual healing.
Hey,
Oh,
Shrek
boy.
5 will be the top grossing movie of all time.
Ooh, I don't know about that. But I think I gotta give it to
agree with
Endgame.
you.
But
I actually once voted for Shrek and Donkey for the President of the United States of America and Vice President.
And that's
Okay.
why Trump is in office.
Okay, Dave can keep his job.
well,
Thanks.
we actually might have to find a replacement because he's going to be doing a lot of work with National Pleasure on the road soon.
Yeah,
so,
what's the
Fuck my
deal
life.
with
Yeah, I
National
just got
Pleasure?
back from a 2-week tour run with them.
I haven't heard about them in a minute.
yeah, I mean, they've been doing their thing. They're out on tour. I mean, I think Dave has more of the stories from there, but
I agreed to do sound live for them, and their roadie crew quit completely because they were sick of the disrespect. So I had to load all of their equipment for them.
The Disrespect is the name of their DJ, right?
Wait, what was that?
The Disrespect? That was the name of their DJ? Who did the backing track?
He was the opener.
Oh, right.
yeah, they had a DJ open. I think I saw that. But
Yeah,
Crazy tour.
Purvis almost cut his foot off. It was barely hanging on. That was a horrible moment. Like, he was
Damn.
insistent
purpose?
upon taking a motorcycle out on the road. And I don't understand the idea of needing a motorcycle when you're on tour.
yeah, it's kind of playing games with the money there. I don't know how he can even carry his gear around with that.
I
guess he
had to
can-
carry the gear. That was the problem. I wound up, it was basically me in a van, them in a bus, and Purvis on a motorcycle. And Purvis getting in a motorcycle accident where his foot fell off.
Oh,
That's-
that's wonderful.
That's great. But I mean, I don't think it's that weird to tour around on a motorcycle. I feel like that was popularized by Sully Erna from Godsmack. And obviously, most bands today are inspired by Godsmack. And they're kind of just,
Primarily the song Voodoo and
Right.
the Perfect Fifth's vocal harmony that goes on in there.
I'm not the one who's so far away.
he's a musician second and a motorcycler first. So yeah, the Keenan and Kel podcast. Coolio did the theme song Or
Keenan and Kel, but you gotta love Keenan. Cause I don't remember the words.
Kel, I think, owns a series of Wendy's restaurants now. Something weird.
I thought he was on heroin.
Why can't he be both?
I think that was orange soda.
Have you, have you tried this orange soda? It's pretty much like heroin.
He's like, oh shit. Well, maybe someone fooled him. He thought he was getting orange soda, but it was actually heroin, and that's how they got him.
I love heroin.
It's that super concentrated orange soda where you have to melt it in a spoon first.
So the runner.
So the The Runner is a movie that we watched.
Is it a movie though?
You know what? I don't know.
It could be called a motion picture.
Maybe
certainly.
one thing that we should have broken down maybe earlier in the podcast is what makes a movie a movie. Like, it's not just automatically a movie because it's on Netflix or it has a director, producer, all that stuff. Some things just happen by accident.
Like, I always feel like a movie has to have a plot, and The
Right.
Runner does not have that.
Well,
yeah, it has an idea for a plot that it tries to stretch out to match time, but
I'm gonna hard disagree with you there because there's a very clear plot in The Runner, and I don't want to get too deep into it yet before we introduce it. But you know what? Actually, let's introduce it.
Oh, okay. Well, The Runner came out in 2015.
Historic year.
Yeah, it was a huge year. It was the last year of hope and change, and
Yeah.
we'd been introduced to a new man who we didn't know yet, but he was grabbing people by the pussy, and
Things
oh, God.
weren't great then, and they are now.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah, the world is a 50 million times better place.
So what's important,
we didn't have enough trade wars.
what adds a lot of context to this movie, is that while you're watching, you have to remember that it takes place in an America that is not great or even good. So, tough times.
Yeah,
It
if
had not
only
yet
they
been
could
made great
make
again.
it great again. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously great before that, Democrat. But
Ooh, I don't like hearing that word.
sorry, you feel free to bleep it, but I said it.
Oh yeah, this is rated R for Republicans only. But no,
Was this rated R?
It was. I
Yes.
didn't realize that until today, and I'm not
because
exactly
of the titty.
sure.
yeah. Well, I thought they could get away with a titty in a PG-13 movie if it was under a certain amount of time, and the boobie was only on screen for like
Maybe it's that specific boob.
1 second, if that. Yeah, maybe.
Like the editors were like, "That's an R boob. That's a good boob."
Well, the movie was directed by Austin Stark. Production company Backlot Pictures and Paper Street Films, both of which, I mean, it seems like this was made on some backlot somewhere that they could get on the low, and the sets may have been made out of paper.
Yeah, I mean, nothing in this movie seemed like it should have cost any money.
Runtime of 90 minutes, a budget of $6 million, and yet I think this only ever got like a limited weekend release. This has been a common theme of a lot, well, not a theme, but, a common running characteristic in a lot of these movies that we've watched so far.
The Runner.
But it got a limited release and had a box office gross of $749,000. The majority of it made on streaming services. But yeah,
Yeah, I'd never even heard of this movie before
I had never heard of it either. And
this past week.
And no one ever should.
yeah, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but I'm kind of thinking in like 2 weeks' time, I'm probably not going to remember this movie. But
I watched this movie 2 days ago or 3 days ago, and I barely remember it.
yeah. Well,
Well, there was nothing really to remember, so
Yeah, I was just kind of waiting for something to happen. And then some stuff did happen, but it wasn't interesting, and I didn't care about it.
review-wise, Rotten Tomatoes, 24% on that tomato meter, 22% audience rating. It's The people and the critics agree there pretty much. About 1 in 4 like it.
Bless you.
Thank you. Some general notes I had. Here's all I could find about it. It was mostly filmed in New Orleans.
I feel like half these movies have been.
Yeah,
Also.
seriously. I don't know why so many have taken place in New Orleans, but
Maybe Nicolas Cage just really likes doing a New Orleans accent.
He's not from there, is he?
speaking of, his accent in this movie was atrocious, and I think he gave
It was
up on
very
it
bad.
halfway through. Like, I swear he was like trying it in like the first like 30 minutes of the movie, and it was really bad. And then towards the end of it, he just stopped.
There was
Yeah.
a lot of people that had bad accents.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, why cast people who are from Louisiana when you could cast whoever the fuck was in this movie?
His wife to be ex-wife was in Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that came out after this.
Yeah.
So she may have gotten
Dislodged
that
her
on the she might have gotten there on the strength of this film.
Well, she was
God.
also in Gladiator, so that's fun.
Oh, I don't even remember that. Who was she
I-
in Gladiator?
I don't know. I've never seen Gladiator. but
Really?
yeah,
Oh,
truly.
wow.
Welcome to the Gladiator podcast.
All right. Gladiator.
But
Oh, yeah.
You can keep the fight. Fight.
Peter Fonda is
Gladiator.
in this movie surprisingly, because you know everybody gets to a point in their career where you either kill yourself or you
Get
embarrass
killed.
yourself. Yeah,
What you gonna do?
exactly. And so he, I don't know if he's still alive, honestly, but he,
Yeah, he might.
as
have
of
passed, and I would
2015,
feel
he
bad,
had
but-
refused to kill himself, and so his career
He is still
kept
alive.
going.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't have a lot about. I mean, here's a fun fact: Peter Fonda is tall.
Oh, really?
He's like 6'2".
That means statistically he should be dying soon, right?
Yeah,
But actually, this is
your lifespan, like the length of time, it is also spanned by your height. So, like
Right.
that, it's inversely related. They
Everybody
did a study
gets-
about this recently.
an equal amount of life, and it's like stretched out.
Hmm
Kind
Yeah,
of,
they get an
depending
equal
on your
amount
height.
of
life force.
Yeah, of time height, I believe is
Yes.
is the index. But
We're smart.
well, I guess we could jump into the plot summary because I really got there's nothing here, man.
Yeah, I have two. One of them's a semi fun fact, and the other one is, it's pretty obvious, which is that this is the directorial and writing debut of the guy who wrote and directed this, Austin Stark, as you said. So apparently he had done like a bunch of like smaller indie movies before this, and then or like indie projects, and then he decided to throw this together.
Yeah,
I'm looking on his IMDb now. This is the last thing he's done.
Wait, really?
so it was his first and last.
It just should be.
I mean, it's only been 4 years, which in Hollywood is like 2 seconds. Not really, but now I hope I got that right. He doesn't have a Wikipedia page, does he? Oh, he does. It's
Austin
okay.
Stark, yeah.
He's
Filmography. Yeah,
sounds
2015. The Runner is his last feature or last thing that he's credited for.
Well, he was also an Infinitely Polar Bear that same year as a producer, which is
Oh my god.
who could forget that? It was the prequel to Polar Express.
2009. My son, what have ye done?
oh, that sounds like a movie I want to watch. Yeah, it was produced by David Lynch and directed by Werner Herzog. That sounds like a way better movie. Let's.
Or how about Happy Thank You More, please?
Well, see, we could do a first and last podcast on this guy right now because he's produced other stuff. He's directed some shorts, but this is the first and last thing he may ever direct.
True.
on the very far chance that he's listening to this, sorry that we're just ripping into you, but man, this was a bad movie.
Yeah,
it's
you got to recognize this. This was not the best you could have done,
it's like
Mr. Stark.
Austin, honey, baby. Okay, so you've been
Wait,
I
is
don't
it
feel so
Stark or
good, Mr.
Stark?
Stark.
you've been bored out of your fucking mind before, right? Now, what caused that? And think about
Who hurt you?
think about the real underlying causes of that boredom, and then put yourself in our shoes. We had to fucking sit and watch this movie. In my case, on a Saturday morning, I could have been doing anything.
Yeah.
Literally anything else.
And I mean, I wouldn't have been doing anything important, but I could have watched a different movie.
True.
Oh, so, and the fun fact that I had was that Nicolas Cage and Peter Fonda have starred together in a movie, which I believe is our next matchup, Ghost Rider 2007,
Oh.
Yes.
in which
We'll have to compare it directly.
Peter Fonda plays Mephistopheles.
Oh,
Wait.
he does in that movie.
Wasn't Peter Fonda? I swear he was in like Deadfall in some respect, or something.
And
He-
I haven't watched Ghost Rider in so long.
Me either. I hope it holds up because I remember it being my favorite Marvel film.
I remember at the time, I remember thinking that it was pretty cool.
Well,
What year did that come out?
2007.
Yeah, Peter Fonda is in Deadfall.
So I
he
was
plays
14.
Pete. I don't know who Pete is. I don't remember Pete, but
Pete
Peter
Fonda.
Good old Pete Fonda. He was in Deadfall at some point.
Well,
too.
there's so many memorable performances in Deadfall that it's hard to isolate just one
Yeah.
other than Nicolas Cage, everybody else. So,
Yeah. Well, you got to remember Dr. Lime, but I was,
Oh yeah,
um,
with the claw hand.
Out of nowhere. Like,
But
We're
not,
talking about
not to go
Deadfall
back
here.
to a much more interesting movie. We've got a really boring one to talk about. So, like a plot summary of The Runner. So, the BP oil spill from 2010 is happening. The Deepwater Horizon spill.
And that's the plot summary.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
that all
Trapped in
happens
Paradise.
before this movie starts.
Well,
It
yeah.
doesn't even, it's not even the exciting incident. It's just, that thing happened.
It opens with a montage of Cage going through and like meeting with the people who are like the cleanup crews and learning about what they need. There's a shot of the water.
Real exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There is a shot of really bad CGI oil on the water. Like they literally just took the water and just painted it black in post. I think it doesn't look like oil on top at all. And it, I don't know. I was just like, come on.
Yeah, there's a
right off the bat here. This is the one thing you didn't even have to show the oil if you didn't want to. Like it was,
truly was not necessary at all because I mean, you would think it might be necessary, but it wasn't like they kept coming back to it. It was like they showed some guy scooping oil out of the water, and then they cut to Nicolas Cage chatting it up with the townsfolk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we get a montage of businesses being shut down because the fishing industry is affected by the spill. They can't fish. They can't do anything. And we get Cage making a statement before Congress, because he's a congressman, saying the state needs relief work, and he starts breaking into tears during the speech and says, like, the rest of my statement is written, and just kind of walks off. But I guess that gets the public on his side, and his campaign manager comes to him afterwards and is like, we are going to milk this to get you in the Senate.
Yeah, his speech goes viral because nothing you love more than just a real busted up congressman who's real sad about these Fisher guys.
Yeah, I mostly watch affected congressman videos online. You know, that's my daily YouTube search. Is like, oh, what congressman was sad about things happening today?
Yeah, and if it doesn't hit the front page of CNN, I'm retweeting it until it does. I'm finding every source, retweet. Like, look how much emotion he's showing, because these are the backbone of New Orleans.
And you're
are the
hoping for
fishermen.
a runner too.
Exactly. And I'm not counting it out. Maybe that's why Austin Stark hasn't directed anything since. He's working hard on this script.
Well, yeah.
This one that's based on true life.
He's he hasn't made another movie because he's trying to cause another oil spill.
He's out there on a boat. He's just hitting.
He's only got one idea, really, and he could go back to like the Exxon Valdez, but he's looking for more relevant stuff.
Yeah, he wants to stay current, so he's out there in the ocean swinging a bag of oil around, just waiting for the wind to catch it.
Every day he stops at a gas station, gets a gallon of oil, heads out on his boat, goes to the middle of the ocean,
Yeah,
jumps it, and then repeats.
I think his big problem though is I've heard he's been getting vegetable oil, and that's
yeah.
Yeah, different kind of oil spill.
But anyways, we cut to a Cage is in a boardroom meeting with a campaign financier who's wants to fund his Senate campaign, but he's a major shareholder in BP, and he wants Cage to support BP in the oil industry and not the workers. And he's like comically evil about it.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
it's like, hey, man, I know like BP fucked up and dumped a lot of oil, but say oil's cool.
Yeah.
Like they could have done this scene where like Cage's guy is proposing the Senate run, and this oil lobbyist pops up on his shoulder as like in a devil outfit, like, hey, what if we got money from these guys instead?
But Cage sticks to his guns hard, and he's like, no, I'm not doing that. You expect me to compromise my morals, blah, blah, blah. And then his wife scolds him outside because she arranged the meeting.
She's
and I guess her firm
big wig attorney.
Yeah, she's a big attorney, and her firm does a lot of business with that guy. And then in the middle of Cage getting yelled at by his wife, he gets a call from his mistress.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, hold up, I gotta go have sex.
Yeah.
He's like, wait a second. He just tells her flat out, like, yeah, this is my side piece, and there is business to attend to. She doesn't ask he acts really weird about the phone call.
Yeah.
And she doesn't seem to care. She's like, oh, he's a politician. He's got politics to do.
I feel like we're painting this movie to be way more interesting than it was.
No.
I can't stress enough that this was one of the most boring movies I've ever watched.
Here's how it went in the movie. He's arguing with his wife outside of this building. His phone rings. Cut to, he's in a hotel room with some woman.
Yeah, and this lady is crying and says her husband knows about them, and then Cage gets upset and leaves.
After she grabs his junk.
Yeah, she grabs his junk. He's like, no more sex. Your husband knows, so it's bad.
He thinks about it.
He
for a
does
second.
think about it.
It's like
He
maybe
contemplates.
one last bone down.
And
now
then-
that he knows.
It's true. And I just want to point out, when he leaves, it's a thing that's never addressed again, and I don't understand it, but he goes into the street and fist bumps a man in a bondage mask.
Oh, yeah. That was weird.
I didn't get that. I don't know why it was there.
Is that a Louisiana thing we are just not privy to?
Yeah,
That's
maybe
classic Mardi Gras culture.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta fist bump the bondage guy.
If you don't fist bump the bondage guy, that's 100 years of bad luck for your family. And that's...
But Cage didn't fist bump him right or something. He must have missed slightly because
Oh, yeah.
he got
He
a whole
was
bunch
off.
of bad luck.
Or that wasn't the guy who was supposed to be in the bondage mask. That was the wrong gimp.
So yeah, we see Cage and his wife have a relationship on the rocks. Her wife is annoyed, and he's like, "We got to see a counselor together." And she's like, "Oh yeah, so you can tell him that you've been fucking that cheerleader." And then he's just like, "Yeah, you know about that?"
She also brings up that, like, years ago, he also cheated on her.
Yeah, I don't know. This guy is a serially unfaithful in his relationships, it seems.
And she's cool with it. She's a real G about it. Just until the cheerleading coach comes around.
Yeah.
Well, I think as soon as it's like, oh, this is affecting your career, now I'm mad.
Yeah, and
Dang it.
exactly. He's in the middle of an interview. He's getting phone calls from his mistress because a reporter has come and tried to ask her about their relationship. He and his publicist and his campaign manager all have a secret late night meeting and see that there's footage of the two of them kissing in an elevator, Cage and his mistress. And apparently she's the wife of an owner of a local fishing company, and those are like the people that Cage is fighting for, are fishing companies. So it's like, look at you're fighting for them, but you're also fucking their wives. Like, what are you doing here?
It all really unravels there. When they're like, hey, remember when you were crying on TV? were you crying because he fucked that guy's wife? It's like, oh, these people are the backbone of my city that I grew up in.
That I am backboning.
Hey, while they're out there catching shrimp, I'm taking care of their friggin'.
He's getting tail at home.
Yeah.
You're getting shrimp tails.
If her husband loses her job, how is she going to be able to take time off from her job so she can meet me in a hotel room and bang me?
That's the part that he didn't read out loud in front of Congress or whatever.
That's the rest of his statement.
The rest of his statement was like, hey, if we don't clean up this oil,
I can't keep fucking their
I'm
wives.
gonna have to find somebody else to fuck.
Not my wife.
Gotta start fucking the wives of the people who are cleaning up all this oil, and they're not my type, not at all.
Nope. So after this, we kind of cut to the media swarming his house. His dad shows up, and I guess they haven't spoken in over a year. And basically, he sits down at the table with Cage and his wife, and he's just like, yeah, like lots of leaders in history, they all fucked a million people. Like Genghis Khan, like almost everybody on Earth is related to that guy. And like, John F. Kennedy, he was
People
unfaithful.
fuck a lot.
You can't be a good leader if you don't bust a load on somebody who's not your wife.
Yeah. And he's saying that right in front of Cage's wife too, which and she doesn't seem upset by it.
She really is, for the most part, unfazed by all the infidelity in this movie. There are times when it gets tense, but for the most part, she's pretty chill about it.
Yeah, and well, basically,
Maybe she's also fucking people's wives.
Oh,
maybe she's fucking the dad.
Yeah, maybe she's mad about this because it's gonna shut down the whole sleeping with fishermen's wives ring that she's a big part of. And
she's
a
making
big
money
patron.
off this.
But basically, Cage's dad and his wife both say like, don't resign, whatever you do, don't resign. And then in the next scene, we see him pulling up to his publicist in some random place, and he's like, I'm gonna resign.
And now, I don't know if you mentioned this, so I apologize if this is a repeat, but his dad was like an ex-politician.
Yeah.
And so...
He was like the mayor or something.
Yeah, and so when he says, like, don't resign, go fuck somebody's wife instead, you should probably listen to him, because he knows what he's talking about.
Well, I think that was like his point, is like, people don't care the wrong you do or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which is probably why he was so comfortable talking about it in front of her. He's already talked about it in front of his own wife, about how he was like fucking whoever's maid.
Yeah. Well, and I guess there's some other the senator that he's trying to replace in the primary just had some scandal about something recently, like taking a bribe or something, or I don't know. But yeah, so he tells his publicist he's going to resign, but he still plans to run for Senate. And then she's like, oh, well, I don't know anyone who's resigned and then won a race afterwards. So, like, stay out of the media for as long as possible. Or what?
Yeah, so she's like, fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
And so he leaves, and he's determined to be the first one to resign and then win the Senate race. Yeah.
So he goes home, and his wife is like super mad that he didn't tell her first about his resignation. And then she says like, I'm going to leave you if you resign. And then we cut to Cage walking into a press conference, and we don't hear anything, but the next scene is him drinking. And we've just been told he's been sober for 16 years. And he's also like hiring hookers, I think. I think it was a hooker.
I couldn't tell.
Well, here's my logic for thinking it's a hooker. She was standing there. It's a person we haven't seen before. It's not his mistress, but she's like dancing while she's undressing, and there's a bunch of money on the table. So like, I'm thinking that's gotta be either a hooker or a stripper or something, but
or both.
Yeah.
Maybe he can't get a boner unless he's looking at a bunch of money. Because, okay.
That's his fetish. Are you kink shaming him, Nick?
When his mistress grabbed him right in the wiener.
I'm not trying to kink shame him. I'm just trying to kink understand him.
His mistress grabbed him right in the wiener, and he thought about it, but then he left because there wasn't a pile of money out.
I see. That's really what it is. So if she really wanted to, she should have gotten to that boardroom with that financer and then done it.
That's where it really goes down. Yeah, he does a whole lot of fucking anybody.
Yeah, he's just fucking and more fucking, and This dude's like, he really likes sex. Like that's a thing.
I mean,
My
obviously,
theory stands with this movie, where if you see boobs in it and it's a Nicolas Cage movie, it's a bad movie.
I haven't seen proof otherwise so far. So
we'll see. At least Zandali had the decency to show you
No,
a boob in the
Zandali
first
is
10
the worst
seconds.
movie ever made.
Zandali warns you in the first 10
I swear
seconds
to God,
with a
I'm gonna
boob.
punch you in the face.
There wasn't a boob in this goddamn movie until I missed the boob. I didn't see it.
it happened much later, and it was very unnecessary.
Because full disclaimer, there was a couple times when I was like, Googling cartoon fucking voice actors
Cartoon
during
boobs?
this movie.
Let's just say
I couldn't
cartoon
think of.
fucking?
I just
Hentai?
I spaced out there for a second, but I was doing a lot of extracurricular activities in the second half of this movie, because I'd rewound a lot because it just wasn't interesting.
I
But
was playing on my phone a lot during this movie.
Uh,
It was so boring.
See, I guess I'm the only one here with a fucking work ethic because I sat down and I watched this goddamn thing.
And you
repeatedly.
wasted 90 minutes of your life.
I did, but at least I'm prepared here. No,
Hey, you know
are you
what?
saying we are underprepared?
I'm
No.
so prepared that I am now issuing a challenge to our listeners to get past me in Garfield Food Truck, which is what I was playing during this movie. I am currently level 229, and I would love to see somebody throw this movie on and get past that. So, anyway,
Okay, so we get a montage of him doing bad now. His apartment is littered with empty bottles and glasses because he's moved into his own place. He's moved out with his wife, moved out from his wife because they're going to get a divorce now. But then he kind of goes back to normal and he starts doing good even though he's drinking. Like, it seemed like he wasn't doing that bad after this short montage of him doing bad.
Yeah,
But he really was only doing like that one bad thing, and then it was just shots of him like sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the real
and then
message-
they like leave empty glasses and bottles around the house, so it kind of is supposed to imply that he's drinking a lot, but
yeah, I think
I
the
don't know.
real message that this was trying to convey is that sobriety is overrated and doesn't make that much of a difference. Because he did pretty okay.
yeah.
Or maybe that wasn't a character thing. Maybe that was Nicolas Cage had to be drunk to do this movie.
And they just happened to catch some of it on camera. And they
I
were like,
respect him more, I guess.
we got to put this in the movie. We don't have shit else.
So now Cage is, since he's not in Congress anymore, he's mostly doing work for his nonprofit, which is a company that's fighting on behalf of the affected people, the fishermen and business owners affected by the oil spill. So he fights with a mortgage company and wants them to let the workers defer payments on the mortgage on their mortgages while they wait for BP to pay them for the damages, and it fails. And I don't know why I got into that. I was just like, okay, cool. They actually got a thing going on. It seems like they're not just, in most movies when there's business dealings, they're just kind of like business.
Business.
Well, we will conduct business now, but they're like
Now
actually
shake my
talking
hand,
about
please.
something. So
There was a lot of shaking of hands, but they did go a little bit too deep into it. This was, I mean, kind of where I started to zone out.
yeah, I guess it had the opposite effect on you guys that it did on me at that part.
Yeah, if he was a real person and this was a documentary, more power to him. But I did not care to see whatever he was doing.
It
Well,
would have been more interesting if it was like about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just like, here's some business stuff. Okay, now
Back to
here's a scene
the
of nothing.
non-story.
and now another scene of nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Also,
felt,
his dad's having surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Didn't really
cares?
understand that part. Yeah.
it felt like they were just they were kind of trying to redeem him, I guess, and show that like, hey, guess what? He took a sip of alcohol, but he's still a good guy. He fucked somebody's wife.
But he's
Nobody
still a
cares.
good guy.
And even the people that like are working with him are like, hey, listen, you don't give a shit who you fuck.
yeah.
That's dope, honestly.
We
Just
don't
give
care who
me
you
my
fucking.
money.
Just get BP to stop fucking me. Like,
Just don't shoot your load in the ocean with all the oil, and we're
It's-
good.
It's my money. I need it now.
yeah. It's your money. Get it when you need it. That's what Cage says to them, and then they're like, "Oh, I remember that. Yeah, J.G. Wentworth, but
So somebody cash now.
sponsor us. We just did a free ad for you.
J.G.
Sons
Wentworth,
of bitches.
Is he still around?
I have no idea. I think so. I feel like I saw an ad not that long ago.
Let's do the Empire Carpet jingle just for good measure.
So then,
588 2300 Empire.
How many phone numbers can we sing on this? 86753.
okay, well,
Get
Cage,
connected for free.
Cage finds his campaign manager and discovers that he's running for another guy's Senate campaign, or he's working to run that, and it's the Democrat, because I guess Cage is a Republican. I haven't figured it out.
I
in this
thought
movie.
it was. I don't know.
Well, if somebody's a hero in a movie, I just assume they're Republican. 'Cause they-
I couldn't really be sure here, but he ends up also meeting with his former publicist and ends up going out drinking with her and sleeps with her. And at this point, I gotta
That's
ask,
the
like, what
boob
is?
you see.
Yeah, that's where the booby is. We get flabby 50 Cage, frumpy Cage, on this young woman who's in her 30s, whose main characteristic that I've discovered is that she hates her kids. I don't know how many times she talks about how annoyed she is with her kids, and they keep showing scenes of her like being around her kids and being fucking annoyed. And I'm just like, okay.
Hey, that was the most realistic scene in the movie.
Truly.
I guess.
and
Kids.
she is played by Sarah Paulson from American Horror Story fame. And so basically, this is like the prequel to American Horror Story. Nicolas Cage's however many years old body in this movie thrusting down on her. The true horror story.
I was thinking more Ocean's 8, because in that one she leaves her kids to do the heist.
I haven't
So
seen
maybe
that.
this was right after
Oh,
or right before.
possibly. Maybe she's the same person. I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to differentiate characters who hate their kids because everybody who has kids hates them. So
By the way, Ocean's 8 better than this movie.
I don't doubt that at all because Ocean's 8 actually it at least looked good. That's all I can say about it because I haven't seen it.
I could probably say any movie at this point and say it better than this movie.
I will watch any movie with Rihanna
Except
in it
Sandalene.
over.
Wait, even Battleship?
Yep, over this movie. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll watch Battleship 10 times in a row just to stick it to you.
I didn't even ask for that.
Well, I guess at this point, Cage finds out his dad is dying of cirrhosis, I think.
Yeah.
And he's drinking while he's talking about how he's dying of cirrhosis, so that's good.
They do a real good job of making him look really jaundiced.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is your dad. He's
He's dying.
Mr. Burns now.
Yeah. And so he's refusing any money from Cage to help pay for the medical payments, and Cage is like, all right. And then his dad is like, stop being a hero and just make it look like you're a hero. That's what you're supposed to do as a politician.
Now that's a Republican.
So after that, Cage goes home and pours his liquor bottles in the sink because he's like, my dad's an alcoholic who's dying of cirrhosis. My daddy.
Oh, damn.
So then
Mephistopheles.
after that, he calls his publicist. he calls
Maybe this
his
is a
publicist.
Ghost Rider sequel.
It could be.
He calls his publicist and asks if she wants to come visit, and this is what her kids are there, and like they're fighting over orange juice, and she's just looking all annoyed, and she's like, yeah, I'll be there this weekend, okay? And I'm just like, oh, God, okay. So, and then the next scene, Cage is going to work. Everyone's applauding him. It looks like BP gave his nonprofit $3.5 million to help with his relief efforts. So, like, his wife sees an article about it while she's going through divorce documents and then closes the divorce documents and puts them away. She's just like, oh, okay, he is still working. It's like, she's...
Did they get divorced?
No.
No, they never did.
Okay, I
actually,
couldn't
don't
tell if they did or not.
No, they called off the divorce because, to clarify, it doesn't matter who you're fucking as long as you have a job.
think. And as long as it's a powerful job in politics.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If he was a fucking barista.
Which again reminded me of House of Cards. Like, I felt like this movie was trying to be House of Cards, but even less interesting than that show, which I didn't much care for, anyways.
Yeah, it really felt basically just like a House of Cards offshoot where instead of taking an entire season to build up to something, they just show you the first boring episode, and that's all you get.
Yeah. So then Cage's publicist shows up, and we get a montage to CCR, which I just got to say, a band that repeatedly sings about being from Louisiana and the Bayou while actually being from California, much like all of the actors in this film who are doing really bad New Orleans accents while being from California. But we get that montage of Cage and his publicist having a good time at a barbecue with the fisherman that his nonprofit is helping, and the people there are like, you got a bad deal. You just had sex with someone else. Like, what about that guy who like had sex with kids?
It was very heavy-handed, where it was like, oh man, we need someone who's against oil to run for stuff, and man, I'd vote for a guy just like you.
Yeah.
You know what? I've had sex before too.
So yeah, his publicist, who's named Kate, I feel like she's. I got to bring out her name at this point. How all of these movies go, what I do is, until a character becomes significant enough in the movie, I don't bother to find out the character's name. I just refer to them as what they are.
My notes have a lot of that one dude in them.
We've been talking about this movie for way longer than I think we should, just because
Okay.
I feel like we have given this more plot than this movie has. Like, I cannot stress enough how boring this movie was.
If it feels like we're kind of diverting a lot, it's because I would rather die than talk about this movie.
Like, we've watched other bad movies on this podcast, but this was bad in such a way that I have nothing to say about it.
It doesn't really. It kind of reminds me of USS Indianapolis, but at least that was about something that was interesting enough that I could, get around it, even if the movie itself was boring.
Yeah,
I found
just the fact of what's going on made you pay attention to it.
Yeah.
This one, I'm just like, okay, this guy's running. Okay, he's not now.
really zero redeeming qualities about this one.
Yeah. Well, I can try and power through the rest of this, I guess. That financer from before.
Me and Zach aren't gonna go.
Yeah.
You can take the reins on this one.
Oh fuck.
I'm not really
How's this?
contributing anything
Nick,
over here anyway.
I got this. So then he decides, I'm gonna run, but he needs money, so he goes to that BP guy and he's like, hey, give me money.
And the guy's like, I'm willing to finance you because the guy you're running against is going to be way worse for us than you. So, but how about you just go for BP? And then he's just like, no, I'm still not doing that. And he's like, then why'd you take this meeting? And then he's like,
Oh shit.
oh, you got me, bro.
This meeting, of course, as most political meetings are, is on a rooftop
Overlooking
You
the
gotta get
city.
more. Yeah.
overlooking the city. They're just it looked like there was going to be a disagreement at one point where the one threw the other off the roof or something.
Oh, I
Yeah.
wish. Either one. I wouldn't even care who.
Cage,
Both.
Cage calls Kate, and we find out like
She's not gonna leave her husband.
yeah, she's not gonna leave her husband. He gets all sad about it. Cage's dad dies in surgery. He goes up to his dad, being like,
Why'd you die?
yeah.
Stupid.
Why are you a dick?
Yeah. And then his wife says, like, I don't want a divorce. I'll stay with you if you just cave, give up on your morals, and take money from BP. Because she's comically evil also in this for some reason. She's just like, I want you to stop having strong moral convictions and just be
make
power
me
hungry.
money.
Yeah, it's just be power hungry, all right?
Where are all these morals coming from? Did you become a liberal? And the funny part, what during the whole like his dad is dying thing is that every time he goes to the hospital, his separated wife is there when he wasn't like
Yeah.
his now almost not wife is spending a lot more time with his dying father than he is, and
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure why that is. Unless my
They fucking.
my previous prediction is true, and they be stubborn, baby.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess I got ahead of it. The call from Kate, he that happens after his dad dies. So, and that's the thing that like sets him over the edge, and he's just like, fuck. And then
Screw my morals.
yeah, and then he goes to his wife's house and finds that the gate doesn't work anymore. He has like a garage door opener that opens a gate, and
How can I forget my favorite scene?
He decides, I'm just gonna ram in there while he's drunk, and just plows through, smashes into the garage, and just like is blacked out, like unconscious, and
Is woken up by his wife.
Yeah.
While he's just conked out on the steering wheel.
yeah. And then she fixes him up, and there's a voiceover of her saying that like great men compromise their morals, great men chase power. Like that's really what it is. It is what
Do
she's
it.
saying.
Let the hate flow through
And,
you.
The
yeah,
quickest
we
way to
see him-
fail is to stand for something.
And
Have you ever heard of the story of Plagueis the Wise?
It's Darth Plagueis the Wise. He signed a deal with BP and was able to resurrect people from the dead because of it. And we see him signing a deal with that financial guy who is in BP, and then we see him giving a speech on the campaign trail about how we shouldn't vilify the oil industry. We got to work with them, because if we got rid of them completely, well, then everybody would be out of jobs here. So,
Yeah.
and then there's
they
a shot
took
of
our
him.
germs.
There's a shot of him jogging in front of the Capitol building because he won, but morality lost. Dun dun dun.
Oh, so deep.
And they got to remind you that he's been running in more ways than one this entire movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of him jogging.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because of the title.
I like every time it cuts to him jogging, it's him like clearing his head. But I wasn't really getting that from it didn't look like a therapeutic jog that he was going on.
You know what is not exciting to watch in a movie? A guy jogging in silence.
Yeah.
Well, that's first of all, that's where you're wrong.
I didn't say slow motion jogging.
Haven't you ever seen George Orwell's Man Jogs in Silence from 1948? It's actually a classic of cinema, and I'm affronted
true.
by the fact that you would say this.
Oh man, that movie was a slog.
Yeah, I'd say for a theme, good people in politics don't mix, and to win in politics, you have to give up on your morals. That's what it says.
Yeah, like that was definitely what they were trying to tell you, but they could have told you that with this story in like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
They did not need to take 90 out of my life.
Yeah, it just really felt like the entire time they were like, "Hey, you know what? Politicians are actually pretty messed up."
What?
Whoa. This whole time, 1992 to 2015, I've been thinking politicians, they're the wholesome bunch.
Yeah.
They're out here changing the world day to day, making this a place that we want to live.
And then you watch The Runner.
A complete, you know what? They should have called this movie The Blind Side, because
Fucking blindsided by that one. Man.
I can't fucking believe some of these politics and how they're getting so mean. And
How are they fucking these fishermen's wives?
So, I guess I'll disagree with you guys a little bit here, and
Uh-oh.
I'd say it's not horrendously boring. It is boring. I have watched more boring things in my
I was
life,
gonna
though.
say, if you don't think this movie is boring, I don't know what you think is a good movie.
It's true. Well, I voluntarily watch very boring things generally. So like, I sit here and I watch documentaries about like electricity. Like,
But documentaries are interesting. We're like,
you learn
this
things.
was
yeah.
What
just,
did
oh man.
I didn't learn anything from this, well, other than the fact that politics are mean. But yeah, I'll watch the most boring documentary ever, and I'm talking about a video your dick.
Oh, it's not very long.
I learned from this movie
The
that
documentary.
I learned from this movie that I apparently don't value my time enough because I watched this movie.
Hey,
Yeah.
if you
Well-
thought watching 82 Nicolas Cage movies was going to be a good investment, you're on the wrong podcast, my friend.
Yeah, there's really not much reason to watch this. There's a reason you've never heard of it, and
And if you have heard of it,
I'm sorry.
I
Yeah.
don't want to know you.
it's probably the most forgettable movie I've watched so far. I'm not confident that I'm going to remember anything about it 2 weeks from now. So,
Yeah.
Unlike, well, I'm definitely gonna remember USS Indianapolis. Just
Yeah.
because that was an interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
Like the movie, not, but like the story the movie was about was interesting.
Right.
Where
I-
even the story that this movie was about, I did not find interesting.
Right. This was not by any means the worst movie that we watched, I guess, but it's just a movie that I'm never going to think about again, because at least the
Yeah.
other terrible movies that we watch had like some quality that stood out.
Like they were so bad they were good, or like
Yeah.
so like this scene was so comical, but nothing like that. in
There
this
was none of that in this.
You know, there are movies that are so bad they're good. Are there movies that are so good they're bad?
movie. Probably.
Avatar.
I guess.
Best movie ever made. Worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I've-
I wouldn't say that's so good it's bad. I'd just say it's bad personally, but
That was all I could think of.
well, either way, it's certainly not a question we have to wonder about with this movie. But that's really all we have to say about the runner here. I think
And we will never speak of this again.
Until it makes it through to the next round.
I swear to God, if you guys
Because-
fuck me again.
I am using. We haven't talked about this because I just made it up. We each get one override
oh.
per round. And
Okay, I override Zandali. I'm using mine right now. Fuck Zandali.
I use my
And-
override to override his override.
Thank you. And next week we will be covering Zandali versus the Runner.
Oh God.
And we're gonna do a live reaction video where we have Zach strapped to a couch with his eyes open.
It's
I was
it's
gonna
be
say you're gonna
Clockwork
film
Orange
my
shit.
suicide.
Yeah, because that would be.
Zandali was so bad.
Mm.
I
I-
cannot stress enough how much I hate Zandali.
I just want to say one thing real quick, and I'm gonna preface this with Zach. You're a great guy, and I like you, but I would rather watch a video of your suicide than the Runner.
Oh, God.
Well, you see, a video of my suicide would have a plot that you could follow that is interesting.
Mm.
That's true.
It wouldn't waste 90 minutes of your time.
That's true because this entire movie, I was hoping that at least we would get to see Nicolas Cage blow his brains out again, but it didn't happen.
Nope. Our Cage suicide count is sitting firmly at 2.
Is it only at 2?
Yeah, only 2 suicides. It was Bangkok
Oh.
Dangerous and
USS Indianapolis.
USS Indianapolis, yeah. But
That's
he's died.
disturbing. Fucking. I fucked that up. Never mind. Cut that.
Great job.
Somebody say it is rather disturbing. Ooh, wah!
I was trying to comment on the suicide bit. Sorry.
See, I really wish that the USS Indianapolis movie wasn't based on a true story because Suicide by Shark would have been much more interesting.
But yeah, we do have 5 Cage deaths in 10 movies so far. So he's got a 50-50 death rate.
And I expect that to go up from here.
Yep. But yeah, I think we're gonna take a short little break here, and we'll come back to you with Trapped in Paradise. So,
Bye.
Stick around for the next 20 seconds.
Break time. Oh yeah. Break time.
It's my top 100 Dave Matthews Band members. Current, he would be in the top 25.
Yeah,
For sure.
He'd for sure be in the top quarter.
Yeah.
Oh.
He got bumped up when the one guy died. So,
Wow. Yeah, no, he's definitely the best rebounder in Dave
in the
Matthews
Dave Matthews Band. Hey, if somebody really fucking biffs a jam off the glass, he'll grab it. He'll pick it up. He'll make it happen.
Right, he just always finds the space between.
And that has been Trapped in Paradise. Dave Matthews doesn't get enough credit in the whole like Jarl crowd, like the Scott Stapp, Eddie Vedder type people.
Yeah,
I feel
he's a lot like we were discussing this. He's kind of like the guy from Five for Fighting and also the guy from The Fray.
Yeah. Yeah, if you mix those two together, you get Dave Matthews.
I can't stand to fly. I'm not that high.
Oh, that's
That was
pretty-
pretty fucking good.
Oh, I feel very confident about that. Let's keep that if that is recorded.
Hot take, Dave Matthews is a virgin.
Have you ever seen him fucking somebody? I haven't. I've seen Kid Rock and Scott Stapp fucking somebody.
Yeah.
But
Was it
not-
each other?
No, I think it was like strippers or something. But
Was it the music industry?
it was somebody. Whoa.
Oh.
Hey.
Whoa. Come on. That's our future president. And Scott Stapp you're talking about.
It wouldn't surprise me now if Kid Rock won the presidency.
Oh, man. When we were at C2E2, I was walking past a booth and there was a guy standing there just wearing a shirt that said like Kid Rock for Senate or something. Like
Oh,
something
God.
insane. And I was like, I really hope this is not your booth because I don't think anybody's buying whatever you're selling, my friend.
Mr. Rock, what is your opinion on the pending trade war with China? Bow, what the bow, the bang, bang, diggy, diggy.
Now, what do you have to say about
Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
classic-
it, man.
I just
That was a
I
classic
like the
Kid Rock.
idea of them starting the State of the Union or whatever. And you know that riff starts and then he's just
My name is
Kid.
What do you plan to do in your first 100 days in office? Dang Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. All right.
We were smoking funny things.
And what's crazy is so many people would vote for him. So
Oh,
many people, just because he's not black.
A
or whatever.
recognizable name. Oh, yeah. Also that.
yeah. Yep. He's not a woman, so he has the simpleton vote.
Again, I voted for Shrek and Donkey once, so I mean, I'd probably throw him a ballot.
What state was that in again? Wait, what state is Kane the wrestler, the fucking like governor of? Isn't
Wait, he's a governor?
he's like a mayor or something? Yeah.
Is he really?
What?
I know Jesse Ventura was in
Okay.
Minnesota. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's old news, bro. We're talking Kane. Hold on, Kane wrestler.
John McCain.
Yeah.
John McCain should have worn that mask.
It's a sore subject for me because I killed him.
True maverick, man.
Are we rolling?
Yeah, we've been rolling for like 10 minutes.
What the
Oh,
fuck?
damn.
Yeah, didn't you know that this turned into just let's talk some shit podcast?
The Let's Talk Some Shit podcast.
I mean, I tried to
First up-
wah you guys, but
Well, I guess we should be getting on topic then.
It's,
Considering we've been rolling for 10 minutes and talking
Trapped in
about fucking
Paradise.
nonsense. We are on Trapped in Paradise now. Now, just a little bit about this movie. It came out in 1994. Good year.
hey, can I ask real quick, who all is on this podcast?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's a thing
fuck.
that we forgot to do.
We never
again at the
do
opening.
that, do we?
Can we just
And
like,
what's it called, honestly?
can we
Well,
just
Nick,
like
Nick at least said the name of the podcast at the top.
I always do that.
can we just like do a recording of like us saying who we are and then just insert that over and over again?
Like, I don't like to introduce myself, you know? I'm trying to...
We're sitting here with Zach.
There's Zach. I am Nick.
And
Across from
I am
me is Mike.
Mr. Black.
Mr. Black Mike. And then
Killer Mike.
above us on the boards is the main man, Dave.
Dr.
And,
Dave.
Dave Matthews.
Dave. You might know some of Dave's work from the Dave Matthews Band. He's that Dave.
Pop up the skirt a little more.
Yeah, we didn't say you could talk, Mr. Matthews.
Okay. He's also David Draymond, or whatever his name is.
I'd like to just go on the record and say, if this is the worst episode of the podcast, it's none of our fault. I blame the movies.
Oh yeah, there's not a lot going for it here, but
But if this is the best episode of the podcast, that's our fault.
Yeah, these movies definitely didn't carry anything.
I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind right now, so I have no idea how this podcast is going right now.
Well, allow me to redirect us here. This film came out in 1994, as I said. It's rated PG-13, directed by George Gallo, who I believe is a rooster in disguise. George Gallo. Bilingual joke.
That's a good one. It's a good
yeah.
one.
Produced by Permit Presentations. Permit with a U instead of an I.
They didn't, and it wasn't supposed to be that way. They just didn't.
They
didn't
didn't get
spell
the
check
permit. Runtime of 111 minutes. And box office gross of $6 million. I cannot find the budget online for some reason, but how many of you guys are really out here dying to know the budget? I mean, I am. That's It's my thing, but
I mean, I do like to know the budget, so I know how disappointed everybody who was involved in this movie should be. Well, see, now I'm being mean. This was definitely a lot better than the Runner, but we'll get there.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
you guys are spoiling the vote.
I'm not spoiling my vote. You know, I like to be
I
a
think-
wild card.
With how is reviewed the right word?
Yeah,
Are we
I-
reviewing
we
these
went
movies?
over it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How we kind of reviewed the Runner, I think it's pretty clear how we're gonna be voting.
We spent more time thinking about the Runner
I don't
than
know
the
about
people who
that.
made it. So I think
Well.
that's a review in itself.
Here's one on Rotten Tomatoes. This got a 10%, about half of what the Runner got. So
Oh,
I think I'm gonna have to go with the critics now. I'm not a man of the people anymore.
Fuck the people.
Are you a bourgeois pig?
Oh, you know it, my friend.
I'm just a pig.
Workers of the world, do not unite. You have everything to gain by putting back on your chains.
I don't know. I find this communist imagery quite disturbing.
And I find Mr. Draymond's what is it, abuse solo in that song to be quite disturbing.
Hey, you know how some people write songs about negative periods of their life, like being abused, and then some people reenact that period of their life in the bridge of the song? That is real art.
Oh yeah. Well,
that was. I want to fucking die. I don't even know what I'm talking about over here.
that's good.
Talking about the history of Down with the Sickness. Speaking of sickness, Trapped in Paradise, 1994.
Yeah.
This movie was
audience rating of 40%. People like this a lot more than the critics did.
not all people, because actually,
What is this, a DC movie?
no, you can't do that.
What is this? Not.
So this movie was
some topical reference, but Sonic the Hedgehog isn't even out yet. So
it could be. Let's not date the podcast. So yeah, this movie
Man, that
was
Sonic movie was crazy.
that Sonic movie was actually a lot better than people said it was going to be.
The sex scene came out of nowhere.
As soon as I left Sonic the movie, the first thing I could say was Detective Pika who? Got him. But yeah, so this movie was the reason that Kurt Cobain killed himself in 1994.
The first thing I said when I left it was meow. But,
Meow.
I'm sorry. This movie was the reason Kurt Cobain killed himself.
Should I throw the fun facts in here?
I'm sorry, but I
Okay.
feel like we've made that joke about another movie already.
We did something about Kurt Cobain's child army that.
Nobody's safe here on this podcast. Although I would like to say that I should just go ahead and apologize, because if I recall correctly on the last episode, I called all Christians rapists. And I'm not saying that that's not true.
We've also made some comments about deaf people that.
I'm
We've
not
made
sorry
a lot
about
of
that.
comments about a lot of different people.
Hey, all in good fun. I would never say these things about people that actually mattered.
I just want to be clear that I would never say this stuff to these people's faces.
What if this comes out and it's just me and you talking mad shit about people and Nick comes off as a saint?
You don't. Did you guys not listen to the episodes I sent you already?
So
That's kind of the whole point. Is me being good. I'm trying to launch a political career here,
Oh, I
but
knew it.
So Nick has a app on his phone. It's a voice changer where he makes it sound like us, and then he says like Christians are rapists, and I don't agree with that. I
Yeah,
think
we never even watched Left Behind and whatever other movie.
I would. First of all, I would never watch that trash.
hey, man, I'm just saying what you two are thinking.
No offense to these.
Not what I'm thinking though.
No offense to the Christian rapists, but I will not watch that. So,
No offense to the Christian.
boy,
Okay,
this is going
How,
swell.
So Trapped in Paradise.
Yeah, our fun facts on Trapped in
Fun
Paradise.
facts on Trapped in Paradise. John Lovitz claimed that the cast hated shooting this movie so much that they all referred to it as Trapped in Bullshit.
Oh damn!
Is the first fun fact on IMDb, which I took personally because this movie is very charming, in my opinion. So fuck you guys.
we haven't even said anything yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. For the record,
Bless
we
Thanks.
have we have conversations that are not on this podcast, and I keep saying
What?
Often during the break.
that I keep saying that I don't want to talk to either of you when the mics aren't hot.
And I keep saying I don't want to talk to either of you.
And
Trapped
I'm
in
saying,
Paradise,
have you looked at this microphone?
So yeah, trapped in bullshit. So here's another fun one: the town, because it had to appear that the characters were trapped in paradise, and they didn't want to use real snow. They custom made. Now let me get this number right: 75,000 pounds of biodegradable potato flakes.
What? How many people could that have fed, do you think?
Good old potato flakes.
75,000 pounds of potato flakes was the true star of this movie.
Yeah. I mean, that's some serious potato production. That might have been what caused the Irish potato famine. Like,
And honestly, I know that they were
except it was the Bucks
a
because they beat the Celtics. Get it? Because
fuck 'em.
Very topical.
I'm gonna date this motherfucker and say that Kyrie Irving caused the Irish potato famine.
Kyrie Irving, who when this podcast gets released will be on the New York Knicks. Anyway, so yeah, 75,000 pounds of potato flakes in this movie. Also, I never really put a lot of thought into the fact that they couldn't leave paradise, and I know it was supposed to be a plot point, but it didn't really seem like it was.
It seemed like they did it and then they went back and like I don't know.
Yeah, didn't
Yeah.
they go to that gas station or whatever?
Mhm.
Maybe
Well,
it was still in the city limits. Who knows?
to begin with, it wasn't even clear that they were in paradise at one point. When they got there, well, I guess I'm getting into the plot summary here, but when they got there and robbed the bank, I thought they were still on the way to paradise and they were not there yet.
I was very confused about the whole itinerary that they had.
Yeah, I wasn't fully sure what the plot was. For this
I
movie.
got a loose understanding of the plot, but where they were and why I was never really sure about.
Yeah, I got a loose understanding of the plot, though. I will say, as we go through the summary, I was kind of drunk watching this movie. So,
Oh yeah, Nick watched this on his birthday, and it is the best present that you could ever ask for. If your
That's
birthday's
wonderful.
coming up, pop this one in the old VHS player.
yeah.
Have a
Even
good
though
day.
it's a Christmas movie, which I don't know if we said that yet, but
Oh, we didn't.
it's pretty evergreen. You can watch it any time of the year.
just like your Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And you know, my favorite Christmas tradition is to get 75,000 pounds of potatoes, shred them down,
Get those flakes.
pile it up in the corner. Yeah. So the final fun fact that I have, which is not fun if you're the director of this movie, because you're about to get called out. According to John Lovitz, director George Gallo did not actually direct much of the movie, and he told the cast to do whatever they wanted. And in which case, there was a lot of scenarios where the director just plain didn't want to direct the movie, and so Nicolas Cage picked up the slack.
Oh
So,
man. Cage's
partially-
first directing credit, possibly.
Possibly. He,
He didn't get credited for it, but in reality, huh?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say directed by Nicolas Cage.
Hey, I think.
So. Yeah, everybody associated with this movie seems to hate it.
It shows.
We're about to be associated with it. Do we hate it?
Yes.
Let's
Maybe.
find out.
Maybe a little bit. So a plot summary. Okay. So this is going to be a little long-winded. I don't know if the listener has watched a lot of comedies from this era of the early 90s or the late 80s, but they were generally just a series of kind of barely connected wacky events that led from one end to the other. So it's like, you know, if you don't lay out all the wacky events along the way, you won't understand how you got from point A to point B, but a lot of them are actually rather inconsequential to the plot.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like, and I don't know what the actual metric is because I'm not a big old Hollywood writer or whatever, but there's got to be like a laugh every 5 pages or whatever. And so every 5th page of the script, they'll be like, hey, what if they fucking fell into a vat of gravy or something weird like that?
There's got to be a laugh every 5 pages, and coincidentally, on this movie, the copy machine fucked up on every 5th page.
This movie did come off as, let's make a comedy, and they started writing the script out, getting the plot, and making a line through where they have to go, and then they forgot to put all the jokes in.
Yeah.
See, I felt like it was they came up with the basic premise, like, hey, what if these guys robbed a bank and then they get trapped and then they meet the people that they robbed in there, and then they're like, hey, there's got to be more than 1 page of content here, and so
And that's when they're like, let's just pile potato flakes on it.
let's just get potato flakes. They got a bunch of. That's how this movie started. They got 75,000 pounds of Idaho potato flakes. And like, what the fuck are we gonna do with all these goddamn potatoes?
And then one of them's like, guys. And he just ran over like a gingerbread man and started sprinkling potato flakes. And it's like, it's snow.
It's snow. Now picture these people standing in the snow. Bank robbers, right? But it's funny.
Who makes the best bank robber? John Lovitz.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you know what? Anybody who's been on SNL in any capacity.
I really like that church lady.
Oh, that church, she should rob a bank.
Cage is a good criminal because he stole my heart in several films up to this point. Well, I assume he will in several films in the future.
And this is the part of the podcast where we get sentimental. I really love Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage, if you're listening, hit us up.
If you need a couple bucks, don't sign on for the Runner 2. I'll fucking lend you a 20 spot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Come talk to me, man.
Yeah.
We'll have fun. There's always a spot open on my couch for the Cage Man.
We could totally write a better crappy Nicolas Cage movie than a lot of these.
Oh, yeah. I've got experience up to this point. Or, like, I mean, we've seen enough movies to be able to come up with at least a halfway decent one utilizing his skills that we've seen.
Yeah,
So-
and a lot of these movies have proved that you can assemble a plot on almost nothing. Just kind of toss shit together.
As long as in our movie, Nicolas Cage yells out, "Hi fucking yeah!"
Exactly.
That's actually the name of the movie. Hi fucking yeah, Hobo with a Shotgun 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Well, getting into the plot summary here.
Potato flakes.
I don't know how long we've been talking about this movie without actually saying anything about it. Oh, okay.
We're about 15 minutes in.
All right.
All right, dandy.
We open on a wallet being kicked around on the street during Christmas time in New York City.
Very comically.
Oh, yeah.
With no one looking down, but hitting this wallet with force.
Yeah, it's just flopping down the stairs of the subway, and who spots it?
But the Cage himself.
The Cage.
He picks it up and he finds like $800 in it, and he's like sitting there going, "Ooh, oh man, oh." And then
You know how many
next scene,
pounds of potato flakes this could buy me?
That scene goes on for a real long time, too.
It does. I feel it's. I think it's trying pretty hard to be like a weird, like slapsticky opening to a comedy. Like, hey, look, we're having fun right off the bat. Look at this
But
wallet.
it wasn't like funny. Like I feel like that
It wasn't.
this movie.
wallets are hilarious. I mean, look at this.
Oh, shit. Wait, drop it.
Oh, it's getting kicked around.
That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. I'm gonna have to clean up my piss.
For
all
the
you-
listener and the engineer, I pulled out a wallet.
For all you listeners out there, grab the nearest wallet, throw it on the ground. Comedy
Tell me
gold.
that's not funny. Tell me that's
Andy
not better
Samberg
than
knew it was really funny to throw things on the ground. so.
exactly. Tell me
That's
throwing
not
a
his
wallet.
dad.
Tell me that throwing a wallet on the ground isn't funnier than the past fucking 10 seasons of SNL.
Deep cuts.
Got him.
Well,
So they're
anyways,
burning.
anyways, we cut to a Cage in a confessional, and he's saying he mailed the wallet, but he considered stealing the money from it. And then the priest, who is reading the newspaper during the confession, because
No, he's doing a crossword.
Oh yeah, doing a crossword.
Oh yeah. And lest we not forget the last time we saw Mr. Cage in a confessional, he was sexually assaulting a woman.
Yes,
So this is a nice change of pace.
it's a really good
Well-
gauge of pace.
We enter the scene halfway through. We don't know what he did before.
That's true.
The camera started rolling.
That's true, because we learn when he exits the confessional booth that the church is full of people.
Also,
God,
we
I
find
hate
out.
Zandali.
Yeah, that scene was rough, but and this has given me PTSD flashbacks.
I
to
hate that movie so much.
We need trigger warnings in movies with Cage that have confessional booths in them now, because
Yeah.
like I don't want to remember that.
So
yeah,
the priest,
there's some things in there. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the priest says
the priest tells him that his brothers just got released from prison because there's an overcrowding problem, and anybody who's eligible for parole has a chance to get out early. And that's when he busts out of the confessional booth, and everybody in the church turns around and looks at him as he grabs the newspaper from this priest that
Oh yeah.
definitely was left behind when it comes to morals. You know what I'm saying?
Bam! Cut to Dana Carvey and John Lovitz being released from prison, and we find out that Dana Carvey is a kleptomaniac, which becomes his main identifying character trait throughout the whole film.
His only identifying character.
It's true. And then Cage is picking them up.
Oh, and John Lovitz is a liar.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he is physically incapable of telling the truth.
Well,
Which, getting ahead of myself a little, that's the thing they identify John Lovitz as right away. Is like, you lie all the time. You can never say the truth. And right away off the top of the movie, it's like, oh yeah, I got this letter. Everyone just believes him.
yeah, I didn't get that. Like, his thing is that he's a liar, but they are all going to believe him. They're all like, I feel like you're lying to me. But okay, I'm just going to do this anyways because we wouldn't have a plot otherwise.
Yeah, like, and like Nicolas Cage like throws the letter out right away, but he's like, I have another letter, and like he's like, okay, I guess we're still doing it. Oh,
Well, yeah.
And then, meanwhile, you have Dana Carvey in the background just putting stuff in his pocket.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is your mom's house. I don't know if he actually did that
funny.
in his mom's house, but yeah.
But yeah, John Lovitz wants Cage to take them to Paradise, Pennsylvania to visit a friend he has in prison there, and Cage refuses. Then they stop somewhere, and Carvey is just stealing from a register in some shop. The cops chase them into a back alley, and Cage like impersonates a detective in saying like he's arresting them already. Go, get out of here. Which I don't think the cops would just do that. I don't think they just leave because there's a guy who's
Yeah,
he
a
showed
guy,
him his wallet,
oh yeah.
and we all know wallets are hilarious.
he couldn't fucking contain himself. His sides were busting. So he didn't even have time to verify whether or not Cage was a cop or not, because Cage was also yelling. So he just wanted to either laugh or get out of there.
But yeah, Cage takes them home to see their mom, who Lovitz shows the letter, and she starts crying about it because it's the guys talking about how like I'm never gonna see my daughter again. I just gotta see someone like or something.
Yeah.
I can't.
So they
remember.
also point out that they're all supposed to be brothers, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Furpa brothers.
They look nothing alike.
Not a single thing about them in common.
They don't look alike at all.
Dana Carvey, John Lovitz, and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna come out and say this. I thought their chemistry was fantastic. I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Was it though?
I thought the three of them together as a lovable gang of misfits was a wonderful time.
I
I
it was
said it.
okay,
I said it.
but I
I
was a
love
little
John
bit
Lovitz.
drunk and bitter that I was watching this on my birthday, and wanted to get through it, but
I love John Lovitz, but man, was he not funny in this movie.
I thought he was maybe my favorite part of this movie. Maybe. I don't know.
He had like 3 lines that I could consider jokes, and they weren't even that good.
I mean, it was fun. You know what? I'm a
liked
real
him
sucker.
more than Dana Carvey in
Oh,
this movie.
Dana Carvey just-
was just
his
annoying.
Dana
voice was
Carvey was just
terrible.
kind of annoying. He kind of went with a weird character choice and then just tried to ride on that throughout the whole movie, and it wasn't all that funny in the first place.
I
But
felt like he kept going back and forth on being like, "Oh, my character's an idiot." No, he just steals shit. Oh, but maybe he's an idiot.
He makes a funny face, and that reminds you that he's and he's gonna steal something. But what I was gonna say is that I don't know. I'm a real sucker for these like 90s comedy movies, and compared to like your Left Behinds and your Xandalese, when I started watching this movie, I was just fucking relieved to have something that was intentionally lighthearted and like just not about him fucking God knows who or what. And so yeah, I didn't hate it. But yeah, they don't look anything like brothers. I feel like really the only prerequisite for casting them was like, hey, these guys are cool to fun. They're fun to look at. Look at these funny guys and stuff. They're doing stuff. They're making jokes. They're doing a bank ride.
Are they though?
I don't. So there was. I didn't write this down. But there was something happened in that bank robbery scene that
Was it where John Lovitz goes, okay, now let's all do yoga? Because that was the part that made me chuckle.
That was fun. So okay, we'll backpedal a little bit.
Nick, continue.
Okay, Cage is the manager at some restaurant, and Lovett shows up while he's working and says the cops are chasing him.
Which again, John Lovitz, known liar.
Yeah, known liar.
His family just doesn't care.
Cage runs with him to the car, and they all take off, losing the cops, and Dana Carvey's in the car already. So they call their mom, and she tells them the cops are at her house, and they should just make sure to stay out of New York so they don't get arrested.
Want to specify for this scene, too. It's John Lovitz is the only one on the phone, so you only hear John Lovitz's side, and he's like, what's that, Mom? The cops are there, and they're looking for my brother? Oh, man, you're saying we shouldn't go home? And it's like, Nicolas Cage, are you an idiot?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
What is he, a fucking retard, man?
Is he a fucking retard?
Well, that's post bank robbery, right?
No, that's all pre.
Because I thought the phone call was at the house with the.
There's multiple phone calls.
Okay.
This is the one where after he left the restaurant and they were like, oh no, we can't go. Let's go deliver this letter.
Oh, right. So they're going to fucking
Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they're going to Paradise, Pennsylvania to visit the daughter of somebody that they were in prison with.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, I don't know how they were in prison with this guy, but he's in a different prison than they just got released from. I don't know.
Don't worry about it.
And so they go to Paradise, Pennsylvania looking for Sarah something or another, and they find out that she works at this bank, which turns out to be a very poorly protected bank.
The easiest bank to steal from ever.
They walk in to this bank,
and they see that the security cameras aren't plugged in, and it's very visible that they're not plugged in because the cord is just hanging directly
and it's like
from
at the door.
Plug the shit in.
At least hide it. Like, I don't know.
They have a security guy who's like 800 years old, and he's asleep by the door, and they're literally peddling in bags of cash.
Yeah, like I think the scene is like Nicolas Cage like, there's no money in this bank, and then that's when like comically these delivery drivers walking in, they're just like, I've got $200,000 in cash.
Did somebody order 3 bags of money?
But actually,
Cage. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say that there probably wasn't money in those bags for the purpose of looking realistic. They probably filled it with 75,000 pounds of potato flakes.
Yeah,
because they had a couple pounds of potato flakes laying around. So why use real money?
I mean, that's the perfect stuffing at this point. You've got 75,000 pounds of it. Can you imagine that? Like, I don't think this building weighs 75,000 pounds.
It also works as actual stuffing.
Yeah.
It does. Like, very not a bad stuffing either.
It can go into a turkey pretty easily. But
hey, if there was a friggin' blizzard of garlic salt, I wouldn't hate it.
So maybe I'm not gonna lie here. I was a little confused about a lot of plot points here because I was a couple whiskeys deep.
But this was very
that lady Sarah.
confusing.
Was that lady Sarah? Was that supposed to be the daughter of the guy that they went to prison with? Because if so, okay, that's a fucking revelation for me. It makes way more sense that Cage knows who she was now. I thought they like went to high school or something because it was just like Cage is like, you're this lady. And she's like, yeah, do I know you? And he's like, no.
I just know your name.
Which is kind of like the Cage seduction technique. We've seen it a while now. It's a stare down of a lady that doesn't know him.
Is this poetry?
Yeah, basically she is the daughter of this convict who has moved to this town and changed her name so as not to be associated with him.
Oh, okay. I completely... Yeah, I'd had too much to drink, guys. I think because I thought that the prisoner was in this town, and I was like, why didn't they go to the prison? I'm so confused.
Don't worry, you didn't miss out on anything.
Okay.
There's another plot point that I was even more confused about that's coming up. But okay, so they go in the bank, they see it's poorly protected. There's fucking cash everywhere.
Oh, sorry.
What were you saying?
I wanted to say that when he talks to Sarah, the first thing he asks her is, are you married? Which is a little weird of a thing to ask immediately upon meeting someone. And she walks up like, no.
He walks into a bank, he finds the prettiest woman there, and he, establishes that he knows who she is, and then asks if she's taken. So that's a good start. Meanwhile, you have... John Lovitz and Dana Carvey that are like cock blocking him basically, and they keep coming in and they're
He's
trying
lying. He's stealing shit.
Yeah, he steals like a fucking handful of pens and stuff.
Oh
he
yeah,
steals
Dana
every...
Carvey. It says like take a free pen. It's Christmas, and he takes them all. And
Yeah,
He takes a gingerbread ornament off a tree.
yeah, classic klepto shit.
Mm-hmm.
See.
John Lovitz is like, oh, he has diabetes, and we were scared of his blood sugar.
Oh yeah.
It's like, haha, I'm lying.
Remember the pickup line he uses though, when he says to Sarah, "I told him to find the sweetest thing in here."
No.
And she, for some reason, doesn't immediately suck his wiener.
What a bitch, right?
Oh my god! You don't even get me started.
Oh god.
So, yeah, they
Don't make me take you to a confessional.
Oh no!
Oh god!
Please don't make me think of that.
Okay, please cut that in post.
All right, it's gonna stay in.
Just like in the confessional. Oh no.
Mamma mia.
Yeah.
Sadly.
So like, Lovitz has scoped out this bank and realized that it's very poorly protected.
And then you see the friggin' dollar signs in Nicolas Cage's eyes, who I thought was a... I don't know.
Did he? I thought that wasn't... Because they're driving away, and then, like, Lovitz is like, what would you say if I had a shitload of guns in the trunk and we should rob that bank? And then Nicolas Cage is like, no, I don't want to rob... Well, you have a gun? Like, what the fuck? And then he opens it, and it's a briefcase full of guns.
Can I point out more of an arsenal than Arsenal?
Yes, much more of an
Yes,
arsenal than
there-
Arsenal.
There was an arsenal, period. But yeah, I guess I was a little confused on where exactly Nicolas Cage did his heel turn, because I was like... I don't know if I was supposed to assume he was a straight man, but he
thought
was
he
the
was-
one not in prison.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but,
thought
like-
he was supposed to be a good guy because, like, we show he didn't even take the money from that wallet that he found. He went
Right.
to a
He has a real job.
And dropped
like-
it in a mailbox.
he went to a church to confess that he thought about taking the money from the wallet. So, like, it made him
But-
seem like he's a good guy.
He lied in the confession.
Dun, dun, dun.
This guy's gonna rob a fucking bank.
You lie to a man of God, you're down to rob a bank.
Oh, if you lie to a man of God, you might as well fucking kill your mother and use her corpse as a Christmas tree.
A tree.
I don't know. It's a Christmas movie, and
Oh, okay.
I just sounded sexy. So
So, yeah, they go back to rob the bank because Cage reluctantly agrees. And well, they go buy a bunch of ski masks and sunglasses from some store.
naturally,
Like you do, 3 guys walking in, they all want 3 ski masks and 3 sunglasses. And
Dana
so
Carvey
naturally,
steals some shit.
yeah, Dana Carvey starts stealing something, and Cage is like, "We're about to rob a bank. Cut that shit out. We can't draw more attention." And then, well,
Yeah,
the
when
guys
they-
up front at the counter are like, "These guys are gonna rob a bank." Like, look at it. They've got ski masks and sunglasses. What
one
else
of
are
them
they
asked
gonna
me
do with
how
this
to
shit?
crack a safe code.
So, Then they try to rob the bank in the most unorganized fashion possible, and this is probably my favorite scene of the movie. I
It's
think
definitely
was
the best
funny.
scene of the movie.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so they attempt to rob the bank, but the owner or whatever of the bank, the guy who's got the big key to the big vault,
Yeah.
is across the street having lunch.
Yeah.
And his
Yeah.
wife's there telling them all this.
Right, the wife is there to detail all of this, so we're all on the same page. So Nicolas Cage goes across the street with the wife, I think, right?
Yes. To point out the husband.
Right. So you have that going on. Meanwhile, John Lovitz is trying to keep everybody calm by doing yoga in the bank.
Yeah, he's like, everyone hands up and now breathe deeply.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I thought
It was silly. Yeah,
It was-
I
it
enjoyed
was
that.
fun.
Yeah, and he had a couple of jokes like show of hands, like raise your hand if this
Yeah.
Is this your first robbery?
But they I thought it was kind of funny too when they go into the restaurant across the street and Cage is like, "This is a robbery," and like the waitress goes to the register and he's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You're robbing me. I'm getting you the money." And he's like, "I'm robbing a bank." She's
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
"But this is a restaurant." Like, that was pretty funny.
This ain't a bank. This is a restaurant.
What the heck? Have I been taking orders at a bank this whole time?
That's
So then Nicolas Cage gets the dude he's looking for, but he's about to leave, and Dana Carvey is there now, and he's like, aren't any of these people gonna call the police? So Nicolas Cage decides, okay, let's take this entire full packed restaurant
It is-
to the bank now.
It is full. He corrals everybody. They cross the street as one big group. No passersby
Not suspicious.
are questioning the fact that a man in a ski mask with a gun is bringing all these people into a bank. So they massacre them all. Is that what happened next?
That would have been way more interesting.
They shot them all in the face.
Killed him. No, they end up robbing the bank. One of the guy, they get the guy with the key at gunpoint to go up and open the vault, and they pull out the money, and it's like $250,000 or something.
Yeah.
But as they're exiting, they do this bit that I think was supposed to be funny, but I just didn't really get. Is
Yeah.
where like Dana Carvey is the
Getaway
driver, but he like takes off without the other two, and they're just like running down the street following him, and they do that like 3 times.
Yeah, I didn't understand why he kept hitting the gas there. Maybe I was drunk and eating pretzels.
I think his instincts were kicking in, and he was like trying to steal the car. He's always stealing stuff. He's like, "Wait, I'm in a car. Drive."
I don't know. I didn't find it funny, and it was just like, why are you doing this, man?
Yeah, that was a strange bit, kind of unnecessary.
So then,
I think this is the point in the movie where I may have dozed off a bit for the next like 15 to 25 minutes.
oh yeah. Well, in those next minutes, we see a prisoner back in prison. It's presumably the guy who wrote the letter, whose daughter they're going to see, is informed that some guys robbed a bank in Paradise, and he gets really mad, and he's just like, "Oh, it's them! It's those two! It's John Lovitz and Dana Carvey."
Yeah, apparently everybody in this prison knows that there's this one bank in Paradise, Pennsylvania that's super easy to rob. We find out later it's just one day out of the year that this happens. And for some reason, every single fucking person in the prison knows it. And so
Yeah.
they're like, "Hey, I bet you it was the 2 guys who just left this prison." Because that's who it has to be for this movie to make sense.
So they get so mad that they break out of prison and go out looking for the brothers.
Meanwhile, a freak blizzard is occurring, which apparently aids them in their escape.
And also, from that, we see the feds are called into Paradise to investigate the bank robbery. I think it's the FBI.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And so during this freak blizzard, the 3 brothers are lost and driving in circles, and a cop sees them and tries to pull them over. So they run from him, and they accidentally lose the cops by spinning out and falling off a bridge, and the cop just rolls by.
Yeah, that's...
I don't know why the cop wouldn't notice that. It's hard not to notice a car flipping over a bridge and going like...
Don't worry about it.
Hey, you know what? It's this freaking blizzard. I can't
It's
see
all
a gosh
these
darn
potato
thing.
flakes.
It's all these gosh darn potato flakes. I can't see a freaking thing.
See, snow would melt when it hits the windshield, but these potato flakes, they just keep getting caught in the blades.
Oh my god, there's so much starch on my windshield.
And, well, some guy sees the crash and then pulls over and says, like, are you guys okay? Doesn't seem to take note of the cop that just sped by. And he's like, you guys okay? Come on, I'll pick you up and we'll go back to my parents' place. I've just got to ask, though, about this guy. If you saw a car flip down the side of the highway, yeah, I'd stop and try and help them, but I wouldn't just drive away. I'd like wait for like police to show up and file like an accident report or something. I don't just take them and like leave a flipped car there and like never think twice about
This
it.
is
again.
before cell phones.
Yeah.
If you're a good Samaritan, you got to get these guys in some new clothes, and they can fucking buy a new car in spring.
Oh, yeah. I guess I did forget that this is before cell phones. Wow, I'm dumb. Okay.
This is actually before phones even existed. Well, except for that phone call.
It was
That was
John
the
Lovitz just
only
holding up
phone.
his hand.
Only
it was
phone in the
it was
world.
2 cans and a string.
One half of the only phone in the world. And he drives them back to their parents' house, who happen to be the owners of the bank they just robbed.
Aw, who? Aw,
Aw,
come
shucks.
on.
And
What are the chances?
the daughter of the prisoners, Sarah, the lady they came to see, apparently rents a room upstairs from the owners of the bank.
Yep.
So,
the
What a
gang's
coinkydink.
all here.
look at that. Every relevant character happens to be in this room now.
Yeah, and then she comes down, and Nicolas Cage is like, "Quick reminder, I'm trying to fuck you," and we did not rob a bank. They bring up the bank robbery, and Cage, Lovitz, Carvey all nervously look at each other, which doesn't seem suspicious to anybody involved, even though these are the same amount of people that robbed the bank. Weirdly, same build.
In this small town where everybody seems to know each other, it's 3 people from out of town who are outsiders that they don't know.
Who were seen in the bank that morning out of mask. Like the
You're grasping at straws here.
the guy recognizes them like, oh hey, you were in the bank this morning, and Nicolas Cage looks like he just shit his own dick out. And then of course the bank guy's wife is just the sweetest lady in the entire world, and she flat out says, let's not accuse these guys of robbing the bank.
I like how lighthearted they are too. Like their business just got fucking robbed of $250,000,
Which we
Like,
find out at the dinner that follows will put them completely out of business.
Yeah, but they're so happy about it.
They are so happy-go-lucky about the fact that they have nothing left.
Yeah. So they
But hey, it's
learned that
Christmas.
the bank owner makes loans without asking for any sort of collateral. So essentially, like if the buyer can't pay back the loan, he has nothing. Which is, I mean, maybe that's good for the town. Or he had all the cash on hand because he persuaded people in town to open Christmas accounts with him, so they get that little bit of extra earned interest at the end of the year for Christmas gifts to buy for everybody. And this is all kind of played off as heartwarming and good for the people of the town, but to me sounds like some shady business practices that should honestly like have been dealt with. Like, I don't
He's
know.
like, heck, now they're going to find out that I'll let literally everybody have a loan.
You know, like
They're gonna find out that I don't really have security cameras set up, or
yeah, it's making loans without collateral to people who can't pay them back is kind of what caused the '08 financial crash.
And
this
I'm
was
looking
foreshadowing.
at this fucking family. Paradise, Pennsylvania was the start of it all. You heard it here first, folks.
Anyways, the brothers find all this out and they feel really bad about robbing them, so they just nervously kind of leave the house. They're like, well, we gotta get going. It's been nice being here. We didn't make any calls regarding our accident.
We'll just walk out into these potato flakes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. We do find out at the house, or they see the prisoners that escaped on television.
Yeah.
And they tried to divert the people's attention.
Oh yeah, and then they also get a call from their mom.
They get that phone call.
Who is just the prisoners are at their mom's house, and they're like, we want that money from the goddamn bank robbery. You better give it to us, or we're gonna do some terrible things to your mother, gentlemen.
Yeah, so John Lovitz finds out that their mother is being held hostage and will be killed if they don't get the money, and he does not tell the other two. So they have no idea this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, he just kind of leaves that fact out because he wants the money, I guess.
Right.
But so they show up at a bus station to get some tickets home. They've got a duffel bag with the money. All the money from the bank robbery is about to be searched, and they're being confronted by two dudes who I think were the ski mask salesmen or something.
Yeah, so they were the ski mask salesmen who were deputized for their bravery for some reason. I was not. That's the part
That
I
confused the shit
mentioned
out of me.
before.
I thought they were cops because I didn't realize that they were ski mask salesmen until I went back after all this and read the Wikipedia plot summary. Honestly,
I thought that they were like.
I thought they were bad guys.
I thought they were two prisoners that these escapees had on the outside or something until, at this point, the FBI, they're about to get on a bus back to New York. The FBI happens to be there, and happens to want to look in Nicolas Cage's bag, which has the $250,000 in it.
So when those two guys come up, the ski mask guys who are trying to get the money, I guess they're trying to steal it because they know that they just robbed the bank. They heard about the bank robbery, and they've got guns. I think Nicolas Cage pulls a gun from one of them
and fires it at the ground.
Yeah, he just secretly shoots it at the ground to create a gunshot and cause a distraction, and then he just yells in the sky, "Oh my god, a gun!" and then starts running, which was kind of funny, I thought.
Yeah, he grabs he grabs the bag, he runs. That's when they mentioned that these two guys who, like I said, I thought were convicts or something. They refer to them as deputies because they were just guys who were deputized, but of course I didn't realize that, so I thought they were cops, and I wasn't sure why they were doing any of this.
Yeah, I was very confused by it. I
reminds
thought they were
me, we
cops.
skipped past it, but like when they entered the city, they almost like run over a horse cop and falls down, and they explicitly say like, "Oh, that cop's retarded."
Oh, yeah.
And like another cop comes by and it's like, "Hey man, like this guy's like he's not all there, so like be cool."
Oh, yeah.
It's like, why did you add this to this movie?
I have no idea. Ableism was just commonplace in the 90s, I guess.
Yeah, and then when they said that about that cop, they were pointing to the horse.
Yeah, so when they after Cage creates that distraction, they run off and they steal a rowboat and try to take the river home to New York.
That's how you do it. And let's refresh everybody's memory. There's a blizzard happening, so the water a little chilly, and Dana Carvey falls off the boat.
He falls off the boat and drifts upriver, and he's rescued by some random townsfolk who take him and the other brothers to warm up and dry off. Then they take him to a church where they run into that bank owning family again. And, and the lady Sarah and Cage end up talking, and you can tell at this point this is going to be a horribly forced love story with actually no reason for them to hook up at all, and it's going to happen, and you know it's going to happen. And,
Spoilers.
They keep coming back to it. Nobody's rooting for them to end up together because it doesn't matter
any sense
at all.
And then, they're talking, and she says, like, she says to Cage, "I can tell you've done something wrong that you regret." And Cage is like, "Yeah, do you think people can change?" And then tries to kiss her, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Rightfully, because what the fuck? They've interacted
it's
twice.
Nicolas Cage at a church.
They've interacted twice. They're not even flirting a little bit or like anything. He just goes for it, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing? What's wrong with you?" Wait, is this the part where she's like, "I know you robbed the bank"?
No, I don't think she says that yet. But,
let's pretend she does, though.
Oh, okay. But
I know you robbed my heart.
Also,
that's why I can't kiss you. I'm saving it for marriage.
Well, maybe she did say that. I don't know. I thought she didn't figure that out until way later in the movie. But
I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, it doesn't fucking matter.
The two things that confused me the most were, one, the setting, because it was so back and forth. I never really knew where the fuck we were supposed to be
at any time.
Or where they were in relation to the bank and all that stuff, or their mom's house. And the other thing that confused me was that the whole relationship between like Sarah, her dad's a convict, she's talking to Cage, and for some reason she has like the inside scoop or something. I just everything about this was pretty confusing.
Yeah. It was a confusing movie and hard to follow, and that's why I had to read the plot summary afterwards to fill some gaps in that I wasn't getting. I thought it was just because I was drunk, but it's good to know that else.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Comedy movies sometimes try to string you along plot wise, and this was definitely an example of that.
Also, want to just point out too, like throughout all these scenes, there hasn't really been jokes being told or anything. It's just here we are.
Yeah, it's
Isn't this a wacky situation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any actual like jokes. They're just trying to show, oh, this situation's pretty crazy, isn't it? And you're supposed to kind of laugh at that, but
yeah, which I guess it
But
definitely
then why cast two like SNL funny guys?
yeah.
Well, I think like it makes sense that the director was like, I don't give a shit, do whatever you want, because he knows these guys are funny. There's no jokes in the script apparently, so he's just like, hey, maybe this movie can be carried by their funny voices. And I mean, it that was all that this movie had going for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't jokes, but it was like, I did find it charming. I chuckled a few times. But then once you get lost in the plot, it's hard to like. You're either waiting to be updated on what the fuck's happening and why, or you're waiting for like some comic relief.
I think maybe I wouldn't be as hard on this movie if it wasn't 2 hours long.
Yeah. It was definitely bloated.
Is a little overlong.
There was obviously plenty of stuff that even just that we've discussed that could be easily cut out of the movie. This could very easily be just like a 90-minute comedy. Full stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess one thing that I was there's a lot of useless nonsense in here, kind of. I mean, for instance, like a lot of the antics are just kind of dumb, random stuff that
It's like the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's stealing and he's gonna lie about it. Nicolas Cage is gonna have to round him up.
It almost feels like a precursor to like the whole Grown-Ups era of Adam Sandler, where like, oh, this is a comedy movie and there is a plot, but you don't care what it is. If you get confused, it doesn't matter. And I mean, I feel like this is a very early example of that. But I would definitely much rather watch this than Grown-Ups. So.
Oh yeah. Well, we see the criminals who are at, or the escaped prisoners who were at the brother's mom's house are now forcing her to get into the trunk of a car, and they're driving out to Paradise to go get these brothers and steal their money.
Oh yeah, I thought that was another funny scene when the mom is in the car with them, and she's like nagging them like they're her kids, and they're like, this fucking lady has got to go in the goddamn trunk.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I thought that was funny. That was an interesting dynamic. So then she's in the trunk.
Oh yeah,
and then this is where we have Cage and Lovitz and Carvey going to the gas station.
Yeah,
or the restaurant or whatever.
They Carvey and Lovitz show up on a horse-drawn sleigh, telling Cage to get in, and then the cops are chasing them because the sleigh is stolen. Cops are spinning out in the snow, but the sleigh is moving fine because it's meant for snow. Yeah. They lose the cops. And then they take the sleigh to a diner where they have it parked outside.
Is this? I sorry if I'm all over the place because this movie is kind of all over the place. But
it certainly is.
Is this before or after the horse falls in the?
Oh, that's when the horse falls in the ice. They're about to ditch it, but then they see the horse falling in the ice, so they go back and try and save it. And then they're like, well, we can't just leave this horse here, because they're the big softies for the horse.
Yeah.
And I applaud that. I was like, you can't go leaving that horse freezing to death.
Yeah, I'm glad at least the horse had some redemption.
Oh, yeah.
But
and then they take it to a diner, and that's where they find out Cage is saying, like, look, we got to give the money back. We're in too deep. We're idiots, and we hurt a bunch of people who didn't need it because they're good people.
Well, and one detail that I think we might have glossed over because this is a bit of a mess of a movie and episode of our podcast as a result. But John Lovitz and Dana Carvey told Nicolas Cage that they found his wallet. Like the feds found his wallet, and
yeah, which I'm pretty sure is just another lie. Like, why does he keep believing John Lovitz?
yeah. So they tell him this, so he believes that he is currently wanted because they found his ID at the scene of the crime or whatever. And so when we're at this diner, the revelation that we have once Nicolas Cage is like, what if we put the money back? And there's, lots of jokes about like, oh, you'd be the first guy to ever get arrested for
Putting money back in a bank.
Yeah.
but then we have this
that guy.
we have the revelation that they lied about Nicolas Cage being wanted, and so that prompts him to ditch them
And flip the table.
and flip the table.
Oh, I think they also had a revelation that they lied about the whole situation to get them in paradise in the first place.
Nicolas
John
Cage
Lovitz called the cops to get them to go to that
yes.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage finds out John Lovitz is a liar? What?
Yeah,
Who could have seen that twist coming?
his
Oh.
lying brother who was in prison
For
and a
lying.
liar.
Who he was suspicious of from the start, but decided to go along with for no reason.
Turned out to lie.
You can't fucking believe it. So this is where the circumstances of this film get just plain
Downright zany.
zany. Nicolas Cage storms out of the diner and he starts asking random truckers where they're going because he wants to hitch a ride to New York or back to Pennsylvania. And none of the truckers are going south. So who does he walk up to? Come on.
Hey.
John Lovitz?
Oh, no. He walks up
that
to
religious family?
Ooh, close.
The girl.
Is it
Further away?
Is
That's
it the
all
escaped
the
prisoners?
characters.
Oh,
It's the escaped prisoners who happen to be at the same truck stop diner gassing up their car with their mother in the trunk.
Uh-huh.
And so Nicolas Cage walks up to them. They're obviously nervous because they are escaped prisoners with a woman in their trunk. And he's like, hey, where you going? And at first they're like, get the fuck out of here. But then in half a second, one of them's like, hey, let's come with. Why not? I don't know if they were planning on like blaming him for something, like if they got caught or
I had no idea what the logic was there, but they they get in the car and you hear banging because there's
A woman in the trunk.
Yeah, and she wants to get out. And then he's like, "What's that banging?" And we're like, "Banging? I don't hear any banging. I think you're just going crazy."
This
And
was
then it
one of the
just
scenes
keeps
that
going.
did make me laugh, where they're like, I don't hear any banging. And then the banging happens again. It's like, that banging. That's just like, oh, that's been happening all day. It's like, oh, okay. That's not suspicious.
Not at all. Yeah, and then through some weird conversation, Cage somehow ends up showing them the picture of his mom in his wallet, and then they're like, "That's the lady we got in the trunk!" And then they pull a gun on him and try and shoot him, and he just jumps out of the car and runs away and finds Carvey and Lovitz in the sleigh immediately, and they just get in and ride off. And
I think this was the point where I was like, how is this movie not over?
yeah, please.
Yeah,
just end.
at this point, just like those movies that I mentioned, the grown-ups type movies, where even if you're having fun in the first half or less, by the time it gets to like the second half, the third quarter of these movies, it's just nothing that's happening needs to be happening. Nobody cares anymore.
Yep.
Like, we've gotten the jokes out. We just have to like wrap up this plot that we ham-fisted into this movie, and
Yeah.
So
So in an attempt to wrap it up, they go back and try to give it to the bank, but they can't get in the vault. And they leave the money on the doorstep of the church in town, and with a note saying like, "Give this. This is the money from the bank robbery. Give it back to the family that owns the bank." And then they get
Signed Nicolas Cage.
they get grabbed by those ski mask salesmen who are following him, and they take him to the house of the bank owning family, where lo and behold, the escaped cons are there waiting with their mother, and the entire cast of the movie is in
The
the
entire
room.
cast
Yeah,
in the
all
movie.
the cops, the FBI, that family, that girl.
Everybody who's not a cop is being held hostage inside by the convicts. All the cops are outside. And you know what? It's just plain crazy.
Yeah.
It's just plain crazy.
And Cage says, like, we robbed the bank. We admit it, but we regret it. These were great people, and we didn't want to do it. But now these assholes are here trying to kill us and take the money. And then, like, somehow one of the Andersons, who is the family that owns the bank.
This is the first time we've said their name.
It's true.
The Andersons.
They shoot one of the criminals. I don't really remember how that happened, but
I'm telling you, I
I
know.
remember like one of the scenes is just like the guy opens the door and then they just hit him.
yeah, and it just chaos breaks loose. Everyone's being wacky and zany and yelling, and then the FBI breaks in and takes everybody to the police station. And apparently, because the brothers admitted it to them, the Andersons, that they robbed the bank, they feel sorry for him or something and decide they're not going to press charges or anything. So they refuse to tell the police that the brothers did it at all. And the policeman's just standing there like, I know it's you three. I know it is. Like, you were there. Like, tell me about it. And they're like, I didn't see nothing, officer.
Yeah.
And like, it's all going around. Sarah says like, oh, they were Christmas shopping with me at the time of the robbery. And the priest shows up with the money from the robbery, and he's like, hey, look, it's all right here. And then
And they shoot the priest dead because they suspect he robbed the bank.
well, no, they're like, where did you get that? And he's like, well, I think the robbers left it. And he's like, and you're going to tell us? And he's like, nah, I'm a priest. I can't tell people confession stuff. It's my obligation. And
Doctor patient privilege. The priest.
And then the policeman's just like, all right, I got no evidence. I know you guys did it, but I got nothing. Get out of here. Which is, I think, not how this works at all. Like,
Well, first he leans into them, so only those three apparently can hear him in this room full of people. But he's like,
That's how it works.
it's like, you are some lucky motherfucker. And that's not what he says. But he's like, you better count yourself lucky because I know you robbed this fucking bank and you're not gonna have to whatever. Oh, and he even says like, you better be pretty good for the rest of your life because you got off on this one. He's basically like, I'll let you go this time if you're a good boy after this.
And that's like after they get up and like start walking out, the mask salesmen all get up and go like, "Oh, come on, man! Come on! You think I'm a fucking retard, man?"
What do you think? We're all fucking retards. So after that, like, Cage is talking to Sarah and he says like, you know, what if I moved here and like we had and then she's like, yeah, okay. And then they kiss each other in the most forced love story of all time.
He's like, hey, you know
comes to
how
its conclusion.
you know how we've known each other for 24 hours?
And
What if I moved
robbed
here and we
your-
fucked forever?
Yeah, and I robbed you. Like, I robbed your employer and landlord and friendly family, and yeah, and we shot your dad. But yeah, that's the end of the
That's
movie.
it.
And overall thoughts here. I gotta say, you know, they say comedy is the first form to age and the most likely to age poorly. And I can't say I always agree with that, but this movie lends some real strong evidence to that. And
This movie. So the runner felt like it was 4 hours long,
mhm.
and I went from the runner to this movie. I was like, oh, comedy, get some just lighthearted goofs. And then I started watching this movie, and I was like, man, why am I watching the runner again?
Yeah, it was kind of like,
See, I don't know. I felt that it was not even comparable to the runner. I thought it was fun at least, and I feel like if you're
the
looking
thing is,
for,
I do like this kind of comedy and stuff like this. I like a lot of old comedies.
But
I
this
just,
was a bad old
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah, it's
I
definitely
doubt
not
it was
a-
even that amusing at the time.
yeah, it's definitely not a top tier, but I feel like you could do a lot worse.
Mm.
You definitely could do worse. Like this, compared to the runner, this movie definitely had like plot points and points of interest
Yeah.
and things that I will remember. Like, I will remember that bank scene, probably.
Yeah, when that bang scene was happening, I felt fully on board because I
Yeah.
was enjoying it. I never at one point felt like I was fully on board with the runner, which I guess is spoiling my my vote. but
The bank
if I
scene
didn't do
should
that
have
already.
been more of the focus of that movie. Like,
Mm.
that
Yeah.
bank robbery.
Yeah, it really should have been.
But, like, that happened in, like, the first, half hour, 45 minutes?
Yep.
Mhm.
And then
They
there's
coulda
still
milked a lot
another
more out of that.
hour.
Yeah.
They definitely could have milked a lot more out of the intro, because I feel like maybe John Lovitz and Dana Carvey's characters would have felt a lot less forced if they had spent a little bit more time like establishing who they are instead of just like introducing them saying, you're a stealer, you're a liar, and that's who you're gonna be.
Yeah.
That was, like, those characters could have not been in that movie and just replace them with, like, goons.
Yeah.
And it would have been probably the same movie.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm glad it wasn't just goons because John Lovitz
I'm
was
glad
delightful.
it was these two goons.
Yeah. And I
'Cause
love Dana
they're-
Carvey. This was not his best role. His character
Whatever
was
he was
annoying.
doing with his voice during
Yeah.
this whole movie. Yeah.
He
Yeah, like, every time he would start talking, I was like, are you trying to do, like, a New York accent? Or are
Mm.
you just trying to be, like, high-pitched?
Yeah, that's kind of how
bad?
I felt about well, not just him, but Cage in this movie too. I felt like had a bad New York accent. If there's anything that I've learned about Cage thus far, it's accents are not his.
Yeah, he
strong
cannot do
suit.
an
He's
accent.
not good.
honestly,
with
I
those.
wish he would have done a New Orleans accent.
He has
But-
more
oh.
practice at it.
So this is what I was trying to find. Dana Carvey loosely based his character's speaking style on a young Mickey Rourke. So that's what he was trying to.
Well, it wasn't
Exhibit.
good.
It wasn't. It was like when they first showed him and he was like making funny faces and talking funny. I was like, okay, this could be funny, but it doesn't feel like it yet. Maybe they'll milk something out of this, and they never really did. Like, it was kind of amusing when he was like in the background filling his pockets with shit,
Mhm.
but
Honestly, I think what this movie kind of reminded me of, heads up, by the way, to all the listeners, big old nerds. This felt like a D&D group where you have like the one player who like wants to like do the story and get everything interesting, and then you have these two other players who are just like, I just want to steal shit and lie to everybody
Yeah,
and
I
be
wanna
as
be a murder
disruptive
hobo.
as possible.
you calling me out or
I don't want to name names, but somebody in this room who isn't me or Nick.
well, you know,
Is
some
it the Cage?
people
Because he's kind of here in spirit.
some people like to be the comic relief in D&D and use it as a chance to practice improv.
You can practice improv without disrupting the scene.
Wait, so who was it?
It was
It was
Nick.
the fish.
It was the fish.
Oh,
And-
there's a fish tank
Is
in this
it-
room for the listener.
I think I know who it was.
Yeah, there's a fish tank in the room, but don't just let that distract you from the fact that Nick's nickname is Fish.
It's David Draymond.
But yeah. So should we vote?
Yeah,
Do we need to vote?
yeah. Let's give us a countdown in ooh-ah-ah-ahs. Give us 3
No.
ooh-ah-ah-ahs.
Yeah, I'll pass on
Son of
that.
a
So I know.
Oh, crap.
Oh, that's okay. It's gonna keep going. So Dave here.
So, Trapped in Paradise.
Dave doesn't like to vote.
The runner.
He would vote for Shrek and Donkey, and Trapped in Paradise wins. So we'll see. We'll see you next time.
runner, guys. I'm using my override.
You used
Wait,
your
who
override
won?
to override his
I've been
override.
eyeing up here for so long. I don't know what.
It's okay.
Who won?
Trapped in Paradise.
Trapped in Paradise
won.
I'm
'Cause
terrified for
God, the
override
runner
listens
was
to this
bad.
episode because I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind right now. Is that just me?
I have a feeling that Nick is going to edit this and it'll only be like 20 minutes long.
Yeah, it might lose some time in the editing process, but we were a little bit all over the fucking place here. But
This was probably
so was
all-
this movie.
This was also probably our shortest recording session.
No,
Well, you guys still broke 2 hours at least. I mean, the last several have been about 4 hours. But
What are our next two movies?
So next up on the bracket would be Ghost Rider and Pay the Ghost. coincidentally.
Pay the Ghost Rider.
We'll
Which,
find
if
out.
we were smart about it, we would have saved that for a Halloween episode. But
Those things
because
are
of all
hard
this
to
But
time.
we're
Mostly
not
it is.
smart about this.
And
No.
Halloween is a pagan holiday that we don't personally celebrate. So let's not joke about that.
you got me there.
So yeah, I'm Mike or whatever. I'm
Zach or whatever.
on.
And I am Nick. Yeah, I had to think about that for a second.
I'm
I'm Nick.
Mike, and I am on a real just downward spiral here. And if you hear from me again, more power to me. So
There we go, gentlemen.
And I am.
Oh yeah, the human embodiment of it.
And I hate Zandali.
I love Zandali. Bye.
Fare thee well.
Love ya.
Love you.
Cage fight. Oh yeah. Cage fight. Here goes Cage.
This has been a Solid Work production.
Solid work. Solid work. Solid work. Hey, solid work.